Hi, so this week in MCS204 we have been looking at the concept of vines. Basically, vines are just a 6-second clip that you can film through either mobile devices or web usually, but it's sort of how you get a story across that you want, whether it be funny or for advertising purposes. Like I know, for instance, Pepsi have had a really successful one where they had a couple of Pepsi cans all spread out like into the shape of a heart, which ended up beating out, which they filmed through doing a vine. So I thought that was really clever and relevant, really. So that was just a way of sort of summing up what they are. So this week we have been looking at the regressive and reflexive mashups and sampling culture. So this is the reading by Edward Navas. So basically, vines can link into this through being seen as part of this remix culture. But basically, like Navas discusses how sort of the cultural model of mashup is not just limited to software, but the sort of spans across all media like vines. So when you've got mashups which started from the 70s and from music remixes and all this hip hop culture to now being sort of progressed across other softwares and different technologies producing all these different remixes, it's quite interesting to look at. So he talks about how there's two kinds of mashups. Usually he kind of reflects mainly on music, and he states how the first one is called regressive, so where you have two juxtaposing songs which are combined. So you've got sort of a popular form of this would be end of year remixes on YouTube, which get put up with all the best songs of the year all mashed together, whereas he kind of discusses it maybe in relation to two songs opposed to many, but it's the same sort of principle, which is an example I thought of. So it's sort of quite relevant into this remix culture, really. So he talks about how the second one is reflexive, so how mashups in this sense kind of take place outside of music, so they can be quite web based. So a feature like obviously which vines exemplify through taking these videos to new possibilities and with all these remixes, etc. So he talks about how remixes are derived from the form of copy and pasting, which obviously is a big factor of remixing. So you can sort of see the transgression in a way. So because they're obviously sort of seen as this ubiquitous art and vital role in new media today. So he also discusses remixes as this sort of cultural phenomenon, sort of stating how they can be either extended, selective, and reflective, really. So they each take different forms. So, and he talks about the sort of mega mix to mashups transgression, so how postmodernism has now become the norm. And a quote that I found really interesting, which he talks about, is how music mashups are developed for entertainment. They are supposed to be consumed for pleasure, while web-based application mashups are actually validated if they have practical purpose. So he sort of discusses how these web mashups aren't actually validated, sort of if they don't have this practical purpose, really. So they're not the same as traditional music mashups in this sense. He sort of states that this does not, however, mean though that they can be used for entertainment. So there's kind of this alternate side to them, really. But overall, in the reading, he asks sort of what is this norm, and sort of is it seen as this challenge of critical reflection, really, which he argues for. But a sort of quote I'd like to end on, which I found really interesting, is his adaptation of remixes, and what he says is that remix culture is experiencing a moment which greater freedom of expression is mashed up against increasingly efficient forms of analysis and control. Thank you.